August 1944, northern France. The air didn't smell like victory back then. It smelled like rotting meat, wet wool, and the metallic tang of blood that refuses to dry in the rain. You look at this photograph, this montage of 5 young boys, and you see the greatest generation. You see the smiles, the cigarettes, and the brave eyes of men who saved the world. But I am 99 years old, and I spent my entire life in the windowless basements of the National Archives, reading the files that were never meant to be opened. I am here to tell you that what the history books told you about these 5 men is a beautiful, polished lie. The government didn't treat them like heroes. They treated them like hardware. They were units of production that were discarded the moment the gears of the war machine stopped turning. I've seen the declassified reports, the letters home that were intercepted and burned, and the psychiatric evaluations that labeled these boys broken before they even reached their 20th birthdays. If you're looking for a patriotic fairy tale, you're in the wrong place. But if you want to know the what and the why behind the tragedy of these 5 faces, why they were forgotten after they saved your life, then lean in. Because once I'm gone, the truth about 1944 goes into the ground with me. Take a good look at the first boy on the left. The one with the cigarette dangling from his lip, looking like a movie star. That's Elias. In the history books, he's a symbol of American cool under fire. But do you want to know what the files buried? Elias wasn't smiling because he was brave. He was smiling because he had finally lost his mind. That cigarette was the first thing he'd eaten in 3 days after his entire platoon was wiped out in a diversionary tactic that the brass in Washington knew was a suicide mission. They sent him and 60 other boys into a valley they knew was a trap, just to see where the German artillery was hiding. Elias was the only one who crawled out. When he came home, the Navy didn't give him a parade. They gave him a dishonorable discharge because he couldn't stop shaking long enough to hold a rifle anymore. He died in a state-run asylum in 1952, a hero that the government decided was too inconvenient to acknowledge. Why did they bury him? Because Elias was living proof that we sent our children to be slaughtered just to check a box on a map. Then there's the boy next to him, the one with the heavy machine gun belt draped over his shoulder. That's Frank. Frank was 19. He was a farm boy from Nebraska who believed every word the recruitment posters told him. He thought he was fighting for freedom. But what really happened in the trenches? Frank was part of a secret unit tasked with cleaning up after the battles. I've seen the logs of what Frank had to do, things that would make a grown man vomit. He saw the reality of what humans do to each other when the lights of civilization go out. When the war ended, Frank didn't go back to the farm. He couldn't. He spent the rest of his life sitting on a porch in silence, terrified of the sound of a tractor engine because it sounded too much like a tank. The government never provided him with a cent of mental health support. To them, Frank was a spent shell casing. He had done his job, he had fired his rounds, and now he was just metal scrap. Why was he forgotten? Because Frank's silence was a mirror that the American public didn't want to look into. We wanted the celebration. We didn't want the survivor. The boy in the middle, the one with the widest smile, that's Leo. History calls him a liberator, but the archives tell a different story. Leo was one of the first soldiers to walk into the camps. He saw what the world is capable of when it stops caring about human dignity. He spent 4 days burying bodies that looked like skeletons. I found a letter in the files that Leo wrote to his mother, a letter that was stamped, rejected by censor, and never sent. In it, Leo said, "Mother, I don't think I'm a hero. I think I'm a ghost. Everything I believed about God and country died in this mud." The government buried that letter because it didn't fit the narrative of the triumphant American soldier. They wanted you to think Leo came home and built a white picket fence. The truth is, Leo spent the next 30 years waking up screaming in the middle of the night, reaching for people who weren't there. He was a hero to the world, but he was a stranger to himself. We used his smile for propaganda, but we ignored his soul when it started to bleed. Why did history lie? Why did we leave these 5 boys to rot in the shadows of the very world they built? The answer is as cold as the bureaucratic ink in the files I've guarded. It's because the human cost is bad for the brand. America needed to be the shining city on a hill. And you can't have a shining city if the streets are full of broken men who remind you of the blood it took to build it. We preferred the montage. We preferred the black and white photos where everyone looks noble. We turned these soldiers into statues so we didn't have to treat them like neighbors. I've seen the expendable labels on the folders. I've seen the orders that said no further action required for veterans who were literally starving in the streets of Chicago and New York in 1946. We were so busy building the future that we decided the past was a liability. We traded the Tommies and the Millers for a highway system and a television set. I see you young people today, and I see you using the very freedom these boys died for to complain about your stress and your anxiety on a 5-inch screen. You think you're in a fight because someone said something mean to you. You have no idea what a fight is. A fight is being 19 years old, sitting in a hole full of frozen water, and knowing that your own government has already written your death certificate. You are living in a house that was paid for with the youth of these 5 faces, and you don't even know their names. You are trading your real, messy, beautiful life for a digital lie, while the men who gave you that choice were treated like trash the moment the war ended. My warning to you, as I stand on the edge of my 100th year, is this. A society that forgets its expendables is a society that is already dead. You think the system cares about you? It doesn't. It only cares about what you can produce. And the moment you break, the moment you become Elias or Frank, the system will bury you just as fast as it buried them. The archives are full of silences. I've spent decades listening to those silences. I've seen the names of soldiers who were executed for cowardice when they were actually just suffering from what we now call PTSD. I've seen the records of black soldiers who fought for a country that wouldn't let them eat at the same table when they came home. I've seen the top secret stamps on the mass graves we didn't want to explain to the mothers back home. History is a curated museum, but the basement is where the truth lives. These 5 boys in the photo, they weren't legends. They were kids. They liked ice cream. They missed their dogs, and they were terrified of dying. We took their innocence and we gave them a medal that didn't pay for their groceries. We let them be eaten alive by their own memories while we sat in our suburban living rooms and talked about glory. If you want to honor these men, stop looking at the montage as a piece of art. Look at it as a crime scene. Look at the eyes of the boy on the far right. He isn't looking at the camera. He's looking through it. He's looking at the horizon, wondering if the next shell is going to have his name on it. He's wondering if his mother is ever going to get that letter he wrote. He's wondering if anyone is ever going to know the truth about what happened in the woods that morning. I am 99 years old, and I am telling you nobody knew until now. I am breaking the seal on these files because I am tired of the lies. I am tired of a government that uses sacrifice as a slogan, but treats the sacrificed as a burden. You are standing on sacred ground, and you are treading on it with dirty shoes. Respect the price of your Tuesday afternoon. Respect the freedom that was paid for by boys who were told they didn't matter. I'm closing the folders now. The dust is getting to my lungs, and the light in this basement is fading. But I've said what needed to be said. The 5 heroes in this photo are gone, and soon I will be too. But the why and the what are now in your hands. Don't let the history books lie to you anymore. Don't let the brand of America blind you to the soul of America. The soul of this country isn't in the Capitol buildings or the corporations. It's in the mud of 1944. It's in the eyes of the boy with the cigarette who had nothing left but a smile he didn't own. Be worthy of their sacrifice, not by being a success, but by being a human, by caring for the broken, by speaking for the silenced, by being the kind of person who never lets another Elias die alone in a dark room. Thank God for one more day. Now go make it count, for the boys who were expendable, for the truth that was buried, for America. I can still hear the sound of the typewriters in the archive office, clacking away, turning lives into statistics. It's a cold sound. I hope you never have to hear it. I hope your life is more than a line in a classified folder. I hope you have the grit to be a sea wolf in a world of sheep. Don't let them tell you that you don't matter. Don't let them tell you that you're just a number. You are everything. And the boys in this photo were everything too. We just forgot to tell them. Don't make that mistake again. The horizon is always closer than you think, and the water is never as clear as they tell you it is. Keep the watch. Don't let the fire go out. Goodbye, and God bless.